You know what I'm saying? Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to all of you who are here in person and to all of the participants on remote. The Voorhees Township Board of Education uses a rolling agenda concept. Items that are listed for a vote on the public board agenda are sent to the Board of Education members weekly as information items. Each member has the ability to request topics to be discussed in committee meetings as needed. Due to the declared state of emergency regarding COVID-19, this board meeting will be open to the public. However, we cannot guarantee entrance into the meeting room since seating will be limited to ensure a safe environment for all persons in attendance. Doors will open at 7 p.m. and once we have reached our capacity, no one else will be admitted. Masks must be worn at all times. Temperatures will be taken before admittance. Those with a temperature of over 100.4 will be refused entry. 6 feet social distancing will be practiced when possible, and attendees must remain in their seats at all times. You can visit our website for more information on remote access meetings. Public notice. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, public notice of this meeting has been given by the board secretary in the following manner. Posting written notice on the official bulletin board at the Voorhees Township Public Schools Administrative Building on August 8th, 2020 and April 28th, 2021. Sending written notice to the Courier Post on August 8th, 2020 and the Voorhees Sun on April 28th, 2021. Filing written notice with the Clerk of Voorhees Township on August 8th, 2020 and April 28th, 2021. Let's all rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Helen?
Mr. Bryce?
Here.
Mrs. Cosenza?
Here.
Dr. Falk?
Here.
Ms. Galliano?
Here.
Dr. Levy?
Here.
Mr. Schmus?
Here.
Mrs. Wallace?
Here.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Here.
Mrs. Watson?
Here. So before we start, I actually wanted to share a couple of words. It is, as everybody knows, Teacher Appreciation Week. Yesterday was National Teacher Appreciation Day. And one of my favorite sayings is, a good teacher can inspire hope, ignite imagination, and instill a love of learning. 42 years later, I still remember my most influential teacher, and she made me love reading and writing. And to this day, I do both of those things very often. This week, we had all of the schools participate in beautiful signs for our teachers, honkathons, breakfast, gift cards, other signs on the lawn. It was an unbelievable outpouring of love for our teachers. And I wanted to say a couple of words to show my appreciation for the teachers, and I hope that my board members agree. This year in particular, our teachers were on the front line. They were our frontline workers. They made sure that the kids wore masks. They scanned the room for shared things and supplies, enforcing social distancing, disinfecting, doing things they had never, ever had to do in their lives. They were exhausted. We had staff shortages. Sometimes we had to switch back and forth between in-person and remote. Workloads doubled. Some of you had to also be social workers, helping kids find food, be grief counselors. You had to help children work through depression, anxiety, and isolation that so many of us have felt. Many of you put your needs aside. You put your own well-being aside for the sake of our students, for the sake of their families. You put that aside even though you were terrified, you were isolated, you were defeated, overloaded, sometimes frustrated, ignored at times. What we asked of you, quite frankly, was unsustainable, but you did it. You did it with grace. You did it with positivity. You did it with patience. You did it with kindness and optimism and so much love, especially when our children are constantly being fed outside nonsense that's filled with hatred and not love and not kindness. And you guys showed them everything but. There are no words to express how incredibly grateful I am for what you have done last year and this year. I am forever grateful and I am inspired by each and every one of you. And I want to remind everybody, all of the different people who participate, the teachers, our support staff, our instructional associates, secretaries, custodial staff, the child study teams, bus drivers, and all of our administrators, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so incredibly appreciative. I also want to thank all of the PFAs at the respective schools for planning and coordinating and executing all of these wonderful tokens of appreciation. And please know, they are just tokens. This week is just 1 week, but we appreciate you each and every single day. I did want to draw attention to a couple of great things that have happened at our schools. We've had great book fairs at all of our elementary schools. And we had 2 authors visit Hamilton, so thank you so much for bringing in some outside reading for our students. And this week, we have VMS Drama Club is presenting High School Musical Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I wish all of our performers the very best of luck, and I cannot wait to stream the performance, and I hope all of you join me in streaming the performance live from home. With that, let's begin. May I have a motion to approve items 1 through 7 under public hearing on the 2021-2022 budget?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, and now I will do the presentation of the information, and then we'll take.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay, we'll do it, that's okay. We'll do all that, and then we'll vote on it. We have the motion and the second, so that's perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, this budget summary was available for everyone to pick up that's in the audience. Everyone here has it, and it's also on our website for everyone to see. I'm going to go through each page and highlight various things. The first page after the cover page is the budget process and timeline. Most of it is self-explanatory, so I'm going to jump down to the Board Finance Committee section. And we had our Finance Committee meeting on March 9th, and then the budget was voted on at our March 17th meeting and submitted to the county for review. On the 19th, we received it back approved, and now we will be voting on it on May 5th. The next page is some school budget facts. Our state aid is a little bit under $5 million, and it's a decrease of $316,573 from last year. And that's because of S2 that was passed for a 7-year period of reduction to certain school districts. So we're one of the districts that are receiving less aid for a 7-year period. So far, the total amount that'll be reduced is about $1.8 million, and it's taken over 7 years. So far, we have had reductions of $801,520. This year, like I said, is $316,573. This is our peak year. The next 3 years, it'll go down from there. The next item is the budget maintains all existing programs, student services, and it stays within the 2% tax cap. The local tax levy is actually increased by 1.97%, which is an increase of about $957,000. The general fund is the biggest piece of that, and the debt service fund went down. So the net effect is the $956,000, and that's why it nets to 1.97%. The total budget is higher this year by $6.9 million, and some of it is just certain line items, but some of it are larger line items. So approximately $6.2 million is from the following items. The kindergarten addition that will be put onto Crescent Elementary is about $4.4 million. New staff for that, we have 11 new teachers and 1 new custodian in our budget, and that's about $590,000. Increase in capital outlay, we have to budget for projects that are construction type projects and anything over $2,000 in our Fund 12. So the increase in capital outlay is $1.25 million. And a lot of this is funded by our capital reserve and our surplus from fiscal year 1920. Actually, the capital reserve that we're using is about $3 million. And again, all this is done with still at the 2% cap, because most of these increases that I'm talking about are coming from reserve money and surplus. The net valuation taxable, that's our rateable. So, every year it's calculated how much all the property is worth in the township. That surprisingly has decreased by $12.4 million or 0.39%. I talked to the tax assessor, the municipal assessor, to find out if this was a temporary decrease or if it was a trend. And what he had said to me is that there's very little new ratables, and the growth combined with negative pressure from assessment appeals is driving it down in the retail categories and commercial categories. And there's also some new exempt property. So really low growth and accelerated shrinkage is causing the decrease in the ratables. So because of that, it makes the tax effect 2.4% because the ratables have decreased. And so the money being spread amongst is a little bit higher at that point. The increase is $93.62 per year, or $7.80 per month on the average house, which is valued at $259,701. We're also receiving some grants, which is really great due to COVID. The CRRSA grant is $832,120, and we have a little over 2 years to spend that. A lot of it is supposed to be for accelerated learning, so we're doing some summer programs, and also mental health and any kind of capital improvement that we choose to do that would also help with returning back to school. The America's Rescue Act, we don't have a final number for that yet, but it appears that we're either going to get 1.86 million or 1.96 million, but that hasn't been finalized yet. The next page is our budget fact sheet. And again, it kind of highlights a lot of the stuff that I just talked about. So you can see on line B, the total budget is $65,424,021, which is that increase of $6.9 million that I talked about. Line C, the tax levy, it generates an additional $969,040, which is a 2% increase. And the tax levy total is 1.97 because we lowered the levy on the debt service piece. Debt service is almost paid in full. And the ratables, as I was mentioning, they decreased by $12 million, which is a 0.39% decrease. The tax rate will be 1.536, and that's an increase of 3.61 cents. Again, it talks about the tax increase on the average home is $93.62, or $7.80 per month. And at the bottom, it's a history of the tax rates. So you can see way back in 2016-17, there was an increase of 3.57. And again, this is all driven on how much the taxes are versus the ratables. So it's been hovering around 2% for the last so many years. The next page is our revenue sources, and it shows that all of the revenue that comes in, 78% is from the local tax levy, 7.9% is from state aid, and the rest is from other sources or federal aid. The next page after that is total operating budget, and it shows the categories of our spending. Most of it is for regular and special education of 57.6%, and employee benefits 18.8%. In a school budget, most of your budget is going to be for salaries and benefits because we have a lot of employees. Capital outlay is 11.5%, operations and maintenance 8.5%, and insurance, admin, and tech is 3.7%. The rest of the pages are what's called the advertised budget. The advertised budget has been in the newspaper, but a copy is here for your review as well. It has several sections. One is our advertised enrollment. You'll see that our enrollment is pretty much flat. It was 2 years ago, it was 2,939, and we're projecting 2,946 for the next year. So it hovers around a little slightly under 3,000. The next section is our detailed advertised revenues, and then detailed advertised appropriations by account number. Then there is the recap of balances that shows what our reserve balances are, and then the advertised per pupil cost calculations in the various categories, and then our capital projects. So the capital projects that I was referring to earlier are the kindergarten addition of 10 classrooms, media center renovations at Signal Hill, soffit and fascia replacement at VMS. And some of these you'll see on this agenda because we did go out to bid for soffit and fascia, and hopefully we'll be awarding that one tonight. The fire alarm system replacement, district-wide, gym HVAC replacement on top of the gym area of Hamilton. Several classroom HVAC unit replacements. We're going to have an assessment done to see if any need to be replaced. A small storage pole barn for maintenance. We also have on this agenda to award a contract for the replacement of exterior doors, which we put a bid out for that, and also replace lockers. The statement after that is the capital reserve withdrawal, which is $3.2 million, and it details what we're using that for, which is mostly these projects. So that's what the advertised budget has on it. And on the agenda, what we'll be voting for, as Mrs. Watson said, are several items under the public hearing section. The first section is the budget that we just went over, and then the tax levy and the withdrawals from capital reserve for debt service, for capital projects, and the withdrawal from maintenance. We also have to have approvals done for professional services and travel, and that's all contained under the sections of 1 through 7. So I would say that concludes my presentation, and I think the next part would be if we have any public comments and then board comments, and then we can vote.
Okay. My apologies for confusing the process.
That's
So open for public comment. Board comments?
As always, Diane. As always, Helen, thank you so much for doing such a great job and keeping us in line and informed with what's going on. We continue to be able to improve our schools without having to, in this case, unplate and not raise our taxes. So thank you again for all of your, just not just you and your team.
Thank you. I have a great team, and we'll do it without them. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Danielle.
I have a quick question. So Helen, it's the Americans Rescue Act that is going to provide us with some funding for summer programs to address learning loss, correct?
Mhm.
So I guess my question is for Diane. I know we discussed this before. Have we identified what programs that we're expanding on this summer compared to what we've done in the past to address that learning loss? And
What programs the teachers will be utilizing during the summer?
yeah, what are we doing beyond what we've done in the past?
Yeah, so the teachers have been, in their students, so they're working right now to, one, at the elementary level, they're going to be looking at the iReady data, to look to see what skill deficits each student has, and then they'll be addressing that with multiple resources that are in their, they have those resources, but also iReady provides lesson plans that they can also access to use to provide those remedial services.
So you're,
They'll be working with students who are in need of current grade level skills, so they'll be using their current programs as well as any resources that they need to address skill deficits. Some of the students may have deficits that go back to, let's say they're in a 6th grade class, they may need to reinforce 5th grade skills.
sure.
So they'll work with those resources that they currently have.
So what are some of the it sounds like it will be summer programs that we're setting up, right?
Yes.
So do you have them already kind of set up? Do you know?
Yes, yes,
So they'll be held at the elementary schools or?
so the middle school students will receive an hour and a half of literacy instruction.
Okay.
And an hour and a half of math. They don't have to participate in both. They could participate in one or the other. However, most kids did sign up for both sessions. At the elementary level, it will be 9 to 12, and it will take place at Hamilton.
Okay.
And one of the best parts remains that regardless of the program, the best thing we can do is put our teachers in front of our kids as often as we can.
Yes.
During the summer. This funding will allow us, ample resources to do that.
To hire more.
The challenge always is trying to get kids to come in the summer. Higher participation by our elementary students as anticipated. A little bit of a drop in our middle school in terms of participation. But we have plenty of resources to help our kids. Any of the kids who need it will have it.
Okay. And have you found that because teachers are so tired, are we having a hard time?
No, actually,
No.
that's what I said to them. I just had my meetings with them this week, and I said, thank you, because some school districts really are struggling. They can't really implement summer programs, even though we have the funding. But we have over 20 teachers that are going to be We have plenty of support, and our class size is going to be really small.
Mm-hmm.
So most groups are less than 8,
Great.
which is really nice.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Levy, did you have a question?
I just wanted to echo Mrs. Galliano's statements to thank Helen and her team. Many of you who are physically in this room know that we see this document, many of these documents, multiple pages, several times over before we come to the meeting. But for those of you who are joining remotely, if you had an opportunity to see all of the documents that Helen and her team put together, you would know that it has to be a monumental task, and to get it to us far enough in advance that we can read it, in addition to just this small summary that you have here, it's really quite amazing. And it does allow all of the teachers, the staff, the administrators to really make sure they have the resources they need to help our students. So Helen, thank you so much to you and your team.
Yep, fantastic job.
Any other comments? Okay. So I don't have to make a motion again.
No, I think Mr. Schmus was the first, right? Could you just tell me who?
Yeah.
Schmus? Okay, got it. Thank you. All right. Okay, so should I call roll now?
That would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza? Dr. Fall?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace? Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Okay, under district reorganization, can I have a motion to approve reorganization items R1 through 9, through R9?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Item 4, under minutes, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of March 17th, 2021?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Information items?
Yes, you'll see in attachments, you'll see both number 1 and number 2. Under our number 2 HIB, there was one reported HIB case that was investigated and determined to be unfounded.
Great, thank you. We have no items under communication. Board Secretary report. Helen, please.
Okay, we concluded our second wellness challenge, and it's called the Tavi Challenge, and it was called Movin' and Groovin'. I will list the winners of it. We had, what happens is you reach certain plateaus, and then your name goes into a hat, and it gets pulled by our insurance people, right, Lisa? Okay, so 2 people that won $25 Visa gift cards for completing half of the challenge are Julie Elliott and Shaitra Flores. 2 people that won for completing all 10 milestones got a $50 Visa gift card, and it's Wendy Koenig and Michael Redfern. And our all-time winner of this challenge got to donate $300 to their charity of choice, and that was Lisa Sollenberger.
Ah.
Yay.
Yeah, so that was very nice. All right, the next item on my agenda is also very exciting. We have a recipient of the very first Voorhees Breakfast Rotary Community Hero Award. They decided that they were going to present this award on a quarterly basis, and Mark McNone is the first recipient. So we're really excited about that. Tomorrow, the mayor and also some Rotary people are just going to come out to our building at 9 a.m. and present him with a plaque. and I believe some other type of items, and I think there's something where he can donate to charity as well. But the reason that he got it is I had submitted something that he did that really was remarkable. He's great anyway, and he's a behind-the-scenes kind of guy, never wants any credit for anything, but he's great, and he did something that really needed to be acknowledged. And during the road back plan to get ready for school, everybody knows that we had ordered UV lighting system, disinfection system, and that was ordered back in June. But just like anything during that time period, there was a lot of lag time in delivery. Supply chain was tight, and everybody was kind of buying the same stuff. So it took a while for that to come in, but it was due to come in right before school started. And they told him that they couldn't install everything, but they would give us portable units, which we had, which was great because we could still pull it off with the portable units. And they said they would ship them to us. Well, we were kind of nervous about it arriving on time. So Mark said, I'm going to drive up to North Jersey to Pompton Plains on Labor Day. So 7 o'clock in the morning on Labor Day, he drove up there. He picked up whatever units he could, and then the rest were going to be delivered during that week before school started. So he picked them up, and then when the delivery came, 3 out of 4 were broken. So we didn't have enough units to do the entire district unless we scheduled around the clock with these portable units. So Mark said, I'll take the night shift. So he said he would work from, well, the custodians worked from 4:30 on, and then he worked from 11 p.m. to 7 in the morning. And what that involved is taking portable units, putting it in one classroom, waiting, put it in the next classroom, waiting. So there was enough to do certain schools, but they would have to take them to the next school. So he spent the entire week moving those units around from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And while he was doing it, while he was waiting in between, he was wiring for the thermographic scanners. We knew that we had a promise and we wanted to fulfill the promise, and he really made it happen. So under Clark's direction as well, Clark oversaw all these projects. Clark made sure everything came into, and it was really a monumental effort, but they were dedicated, and Mark did stay overnight for a week. So I sent that into Rotary. They acknowledged him, and they're going to be giving him something tomorrow. So I think it'll be televised in some form, and you'll all get to see it at some point. So again, I'd like to commend Mark for his dedication. The next section is on our spring break projects. Clark oversaw all these projects during our spring break. Like, while all of us were out of here, they just hit the ground running. So some of it was internal, some of it was with contractors. So I'm just going to read off some of the things that were done. I was actually over at Signal Hill today, so I got to see the new asphalt walkway behind the building. Apparently it was always kind of muddy, and if they had fire drills, it was messy or something. So something that they've been wanting for a while is an asphalt walkway. So Clark arranged for that to happen, and that was done over spring break. Also, in many of the buildings, a safety zone floor tile was put in the entranceway. At Hamilton, they started this project, but it's ongoing, and we are going to use some of that money, that grant money I was talking about, to install needlepoint bipolar ionizers in the units that we have. We already have ionizers in the internal classrooms, but we're doing that in all the HVAC units now. So that's ongoing. Osage bathroom partitions were changed out in one of the boys' rooms and one of the girls' rooms. VMS D-wing hallway was replaced with hard surface flooring. LED lights were installed in classrooms, and with the LED lights, another thing that Mark does is he submits to get some green energy credits, so we get money back for that too. They cleared out trees because we're going to hopefully build our maintenance pole barn there near the baseball fields. And they cleared trees, and South Jersey Gas had to relocate the gas line. The infields for baseball and softball fields were prepped to get ready for the season. And at all sites, they took care of the curtains with fire retardant. They trimmed shrubs, mulched flower beds, tested all the emergency alarm systems, and they traced and verified and labeled all the UVC lighting breakers, so that way they knew where all those were. So it was really, they got a lot accomplished, and we're really happy that they do that kind of stuff while we're not here, and I just wanted to thank them as well and let you guys know what goes on when we're not actually here. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Gentile, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to just start with expressing again my gratitude for our teachers this week. The sentiments that were already said tonight really capture it. Our teachers just do an amazing job going over and above for our kids. Whatever is asked of them, they always exceed that mark. And it's just a great week to recognize all of their efforts. And I know myself, looking back on my own education, I think about all those teachers that made an influence on me as well. And I just know how much you do for our kids. And even if they're not showing it or telling it to you, you're making a difference. And thank you for that. I would like to also thank Helen, the business department, and all the administrators for their role in putting the budget together and bringing it to the board tonight. Helen, you do a great job. Our business department, great job. So thank you very much for that. I'm sorry to repeat some of these things, but when you go forth, that's what happens, right? So thank you. I want to make you aware just of a few things that are on the horizon. One, we are watching to see if the vaccination for 12-year-olds and older will be approved. Should that be approved, we are already in a position to have our partnership with Adler Pharmacy set up a voluntary only for any family that would like to bring children that are 12 and older for the vaccine. Obviously, we're going to wait and see how that develops, but that is on the horizon should that come to fruition. I'm excited about seeing the Disney's High School Musical Junior tomorrow night. That should be excellent. I hope everybody gets a chance to tune in as well. And at this time, I'll talk briefly about the performance reports. This year, performance reports are slightly different because, as you know, in the school year last year, 1920, state assessments were canceled. So some of that data is not available that is typically available. I'll read to you just briefly what the state said in terms of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has significant impact on the way New Jersey Department of Ed was able to measure school performance and student achievement for the 2019-20 school performance reports. Some data is not available at all, and other data, while available, may not look the same as it did in prior years. The New Jersey Department of Ed also recognizes that our existing data can't begin to measure the hard work and perseverance of the students, families, and educators and community members during this difficult year. I'd like to also echo that as well. That said, the performance review reports are there for everybody's review at their leisure. As you go through them, you will see that we have met or exceeded all marks in all areas of student performance. The way the state measures student performance, you're looking at student growth, participation rate. They look at the state median, and they have a target standard for growth, which I'm happy to say Voorhees continually exceeds. So we are in good shape with regard to performance reports. More importantly, as was discussed earlier for the summer, we're going to use our local benchmarks, iReady data, and really target and help any of our students who have any areas that they need to grow in. We can celebrate those areas of strength that they were able to still perform in this tough environment, but we can also outline and really come up with a plan to help students target any areas of weakness or deficiency. So that's exciting, and that'll be coming up as well. Number two, let me just congratulate Victor Pang. He came in third place for us in the middle school math counts competition. For those that aren't aware of math counts competition, it is all South Jersey middle schools. They take the top 5, and we had our student come in third, which is just really exceptional. And I'd like to recognize him. He did a great job. And we all know that the teachers that helped prepare him really are also the unsung heroes in this as well. So congratulations to Victor and all of the teachers that have worked with Victor over the years. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Committee reports. Dr. Falk, could you report on the Personnel Committee, please?
So, first, I'd like to thank Ms. Cassandra and Mr. Shrews. Part of the Personnel Committee, we were able to work together to make sure that we got memorandums of agreement to this point to be the motion to approve tonight with the Voorhees Township Educational Association and the Voorhees Township Administrative Association. The thing that I'm really proud of in this change that I think we've done for our teachers and for the administrators is we've allowed teachers from their first start date to be able to have health insurance for their families, which I think is just tremendous, one, for the district to be able to provide that for our teachers, and I think for, it reflects the values of the board and of the personnel committee. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement for the Voorhees Township Education Association and the Voorhees Township Administrative Association.
So moved.
So moved.
So a second,
I think Rachel.
I'll
Kelly?
second,
Okay.
no one else says. Oh, Kelly.
Kelly seconded it.
I didn't even hear.
All right, so now, oh, that's okay, that's okay. All right, I'll do roll call now. Mr. Bryce?
Yes.
Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Audience participation. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public relating to items on the agenda for this board meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take. Board comments?
I have a question. We have a resignation coming up later on in policy. We received a letter from at least one of the individuals who is resigning about the inability for them to be considered a hire on the pay scale due to past experience. And they noted some inequities in others that were higher on the pay scale when they come in with the same experience. That was brought to the board, and I'm wondering if that has been addressed.
So, like, I'm the head of the personnel committee.
I'm unaware what letter you're talking about. Or who we're talking about.
At some point, I would just like for the board to address that, considering we have now seen a resignation from one of the teachers who brought that to our attention at a previous board meeting.
So just to clarify, from the personnel committee, one of the things that we addressed during the negotiation with the Voorhees Township Educational Association was whether or not that was actually one of the asks, was to look at the pay scale and adjustments to the pay scale. And looking at our budget and what we could and couldn't do, and this is, for pure transparency, we brought that back to the Educational Association, and they actually dropped that request. So by the Educational Association request, that request was dropped off of their list of items for the memorandum of agreement. So it might have affected the one teacher, but I think that teachers as a whole did not want that as part of their memorandum.
Thank you for that update.
Any other comments from the board? Transportation. Ms. Van Auken, can you move the items under transportation, please?
Yes. I request to move items 1A through D on the agenda.
Mr. Bryce?
I can't even hear
Mrs.
anything.
Cosenza? Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Ms. Galliano, can you move items under policy, please?
Sure. I'd like to move item 1 under policy.
Second?
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza,
Yes.
Dr. Falk,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson.
Yes. Dr. Falk, can you please move the items under personnel?
I move to approve items number 1 through 39 under personnel.
Second.
Mr. Bryce,
Yes.
Mrs. Cosenza,
Yes.
Dr. Falk,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson.
Yes. There are no items under deferred action. Mr. Schmus, will you move the items under new business?
Certainly. I would like to move items 1 through 18 under new business.
Mr. Bryce,
Yes.
Mrs. Cosenza,
Yes.
Dr. Falk,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson.
Yes. Our next meeting is Monday, June 14th. It's 2021 at 7:30 PM at Osage. Audience participation. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take. Mr. Carr.
Bruce Carr, 17 Fox Hollow Road, Voorhees. As a resident here, I moved into the area 30-plus years ago. Brought my family here for one reason only, our amazing schools. Over the years, it was wonderful living here. You hear residents always supporting the schools, supporting the teachers, supporting the administration, supporting the board. However, recently, that seems to have all disappeared for a large part. There's conflict that you hear in all the developments about how residents feel about teachers, about the administration, about the board. People will say that a lot of it's due to the pandemic. Well, everybody had to face the pandemic. And, you know, the good and the best overcome it. And I'd like to tell you, it's very disappointing being a resident here and hearing people say that live in the areas, maybe I should send my kids to private school. For years, we always heard about charter schools wanting to come here. They were always never even considered because our schools were so great. Our kids were getting such a great education. And it starts at the top. Our teachers do a great job. But there just seems to be very little cohesiveness. For years, we had our senior administration go to Trenton. Voorhees was heard in Trenton. What we wanted and what we thought, we had a voice in Trenton. I've never heard about any of our administration going to Trenton supporting us now. It's just uneasy. It's very uneasy. And as a resident who now has grandkids coming into the district, I'm disturbed. I'm greatly disturbed. I mean, do I send my grandkids to private school, or I could have been Voorhees? My daughters had great education here. And with our leadership here right now, I question whether that great education is still available here. Thank God for our teachers, because they still do it.
It's time.
So I thank you for your service, but I think the board needs to self-reflect a little bit and see the direction that they want to take this district and what changes need to be made.
Thank you for your comments.
Janine Martin, 14 Redstone Bridge. Mine's actually about the redistricting. So there are 23 new houses being built next to Crescent Golf Course. So they will all go to Crescent, those kids, and eventually will hopefully move in there. So when we did the reorganization, did we consider those 23 new houses? 6 of them have already been sold. Have we considered the population that might be coming into Crescent when we did the redistricting for the kindergarten and the classes? And if not, will that be considered before the redistricting is final?
Thank you for your comment. David, do you want to address or no?
I'm gonna double check it before I say it, because I knew it was in there, but I wanna look.
Rich Nelson, 16 Hazel Avenue, Voorhees. I pretty much echo much of what Bruce had said earlier, from the standpoint that there are all kinds of grumbling in the township. Teachers, the parents, community. I think that the board needs to, look at the leadership that we have in the community right now. And, it's just been, we seem behind on a lot of different things. We seem to be just following what other districts do, but we're not really on the forefront of anything, which I think, we see in the past. And so I just urge the board to just take a look at what direction we're heading, make some decisions.
Thank you. Any board comments?
I would like to make a brief statement. So I would just like to thank all of the employees, teachers, administrators who responded to the survey that the board sent you. There was a tremendous amount of information that we learned from this, and I think that we're going to be able to use that information from you to be able to strategically move forward and make the district as good as we can. So I'm really aiming for the sky with that information. I think that your voices were heard. I'm glad that we reached out and that you were able to give us your feedback. It was incredibly honest, the things that you sent back to us. So thank you.
If I can, I'll just, Ms. Martin, that was included in the demographic study, and the impact is not a concern.
Okay, I know that, I was asked how many houses were going up, when they said 23, I just wanted to make sure, because I know Crescent was a small school.
Any other comments? Ms. Wallace, will you take the items under finance, please?
Sure. I'd like to name items 1 through 26 under finance.
Mr. Bryce?
Yes.
Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Do we have
Yes.
any comments from online?
You give me a thumbs down.
Just checking. Sorry.
Motion, we will be moving to executive session. Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, the public shall be excluded from that portion of the meeting involving discussion of personnel. Further resolved that the discussion of such matter in executive session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the board takes formal action. Further resolved that the board will be in executive session for more than 30 minutes and action may be taken upon return to the public. Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Second.
Second.
Should I call roll or just?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I would like to make a motion to return from executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to provide notice to the superintendent that his contract will not be renewed for the 2022 to 2023, 24, 25 session.
I'll second that.
Mr. Bryce?
Yes.
Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. I'd like to make a second motion to place employee number 2021-1 on paid administrative leave effective May 6th, 2021.
Second.
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
I would first like to thank him for his service. I always worked very well with him, but I have to say yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Make a third motion to appoint Michael Redfern as the acting superintendent effective May 6th, 2021.
Second.
Mr. Bryce? Ms. Cosenza?
Yes.
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Schmus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Remember your bag, David? Still on his bag. Where did-